What's up, team? Just got fresh off the press earnings out of Block, formerly known as Square, stock symbol SQ. I don't know about a stock thimble. That seems different to me. Let's just go over this real quick before the actual call happens so we have an idea of what's going on in the market here. So earnings came out. They were very, very positive, much better than people were expecting. The stock is already up well over 10% at this point in extended hours. Now, the big reason here we're so excited is because this wasn't just a question of being better than expected. It was much better than any of their peers thus far. Okay, so let's talk about how they did versus where we expected things to be. So long and short, here we go. EPS came in at an adjusted rate of 42 cents. The expectations were 23 cents. That's a big, big difference. Actually makes me kind of question the analysts a little bit here. Revenue came in at 4.52 billion versus an expectation of 4.49. Okay, so somewhere in the neighborhood of $30 million difference on revenue. So that's pretty darn good for a transactional business. We also saw that they had 1.57 billion in gross profit. This is up 38% from a year ago, which was at 1.13. And the expectation was actually 1.53. So I just want to say that quickly again to make it clear. They posted 1.57 billion, excuse me, in gross profit. The expectation was 1.53. So again, about a $40 million beat. And also in the letter that came out with the earnings, essentially what they called out was the fact they had very strong growth. Other payment companies had major slowdowns. So they felt pretty good about that. And frankly, I think shareholders must be feeling good too based on the current price. The biggest piece of news really was that the Cash App business came in at around 774 million in gross profit. Here's the important piece. That's a 51% year over year increase. This is according to Block and according to what they released as well. So what they said basically was that there were over 18 million people actively using cash debit cards in September, up 40% year over year. There's a lot of good news in here. The point of sale business, right, as we all know, Square, saw gross profit grow 29% on an annual basis, and now that sits at 783 million. Now, this is something I think a lot of folks can get very, very confused on. So if you don't work in the processing payment space, these can be a little bit wonky. So I want to be clear here. Many analysts, so not investors, not sort of the standard person, but the analysts who actually look at the numbers, when they think about how to look at Block, they focus in on gross profit instead of top line, because as you know, with top line, it's not inclusive of the margins they're making on those swipes, right? So one of the reasons for this, of course, also is that Bitcoin necessarily doesn't have any true value for them from a margin perspective either. So just to call that number out, Block basically said it made 37 million from Bitcoin sales during the quarter on 1.76 billion in gross sales. So you get my point there. They don't really make much on that total top line. It's just a little bit of a margin on it. That's why it's important to understand gross profit, not top line. And then also, this is actually really interesting. I want to call this out. I wasn't sure if I was going to mention this, but it's probably a good call out. According to Block, they did in fact register a Bitcoin impairment loss of about 2 million during the quarter. They had said basically they had bought in late 2020 and early 2021, so they took a bit of a loss on that. And they're currently, this is pretty interesting, currently still holding 156 million worth of Bitcoin, based on its price in September when these were put together. So that's pretty much a quick little version of what's going on with Square. The earnings call is going to be out in about 3 minutes. So I just want to give you a little bit of a taste of what we're seeing. Personally, I'll tell you what I did. I have a very sizable position in Square. I was concerned that this could go against me. So I actually married some puts up as a hedge or as a little protection. So right now my puts are not making me any money, but I felt pretty good going with the shield sort of underneath me to protect if something does happen. Now, the way the market's been going, nothing surprises me anymore. The macro is firmly in control. So don't be surprised if we see after hours up crazy all night, and then tomorrow it comes right back down. Doesn't mean that it will, but it could. So just be aware of that before you make any big decisions. Get a feel for where the trend is going to be long-term, not as soon as something happens after hours. So team, with that, thanks so much. Hope everyone's doing well, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.